you're a realtor and you struggle with burnout, exhaustion, and falling behind and feeling super overwhelmed and struggling to get back on track, this one video and this one concept is going to completely change your business forever. I'm going to show you and give you 3 tactical steps that you could do starting today that's going to help you operate like a winner, like a successful agent does. Nobody talks about this, and I want to make it visual for you so that you clearly understand it. And by the end of this video, the way you approach your business is going to change forever. So without further ado, let's show you the secret formula to winning as a real estate agent and staying in peak performance at all times. What's up, guys? My name is Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty. I train thousands of agents every year. And with that being said, that means I talk to thousands of agents a year who struggle with this very concept. And this is something that is simple, but make an astronomical difference in your business going forward. So let me explain what we've got here, which is the roller coaster that most agents operate on. And I'm going to break this down. Then I'm going to go to a different slide and give you 3 tactical strategies you could do starting today that will make a massive difference when it comes to how you show up and operate in your business. So let's look at this, for example. You can see here on this axis, the vertical, we've got energy levels. 0 meaning you're doing absolutely nothing, and then 100 meaning that you're operating in peak performance and you're full tilt, super motivated, super inspired. On the bottom axis, we've got time. So this could be days, if you will. And so let me explain why I've got a couple things here. As you can see, we've got 20, we have 50, 80, and 100. And what you'll see and what you'll notice very quickly by looking at this is that at some point, everybody hits 100. And so what I want to help you understand is the difference between agents who struggle and agents who win. And so the agents that struggle operate on this red line here. What you'll notice with this red line is that sometimes their energy level's at 20. And then they get all fired up. Maybe they go to a webinar, a seminar, they get coached, they go to a mastermind, they're super excited, and they get up here to 100%. But then they lose a client, they lose a listing, they get sick, they have an argument with their significant other, something happens, and they go back down to 20%. And now they're in the gutter. Now they're super depressed. Now they got anxiety. Now they're fearful. Now they're scared. But then something happens. Then they watch a YouTube video, then they learn about a new strategy, then they go back up to 100 again, and the cycle rinses and repeats. Now, the reason why that's so dangerous is, think about this, a very easy example to understand. If you're driving your car down the highway at 100 miles an hour, and then you go down to 20 miles an hour, you hit the brakes, pump the brakes, go down to 20. It takes a lot of effort to get back up to the momentum that you had at 100 miles an hour because you just lost all of that energy. You need to step on the gas pedal. It takes you a bit of time to get there, and it's a lot of exertion on the car. So then you go back up, but then you pump the brakes, and that's where the roller coaster continues. Let me show you an example of what average agents do, the ones that are probably doing maybe about 24 deals a year, maybe 10 to 24 deals a year. Pretty good, very admirable, very respectable, but not excellent. And so what happens with the average agents is they will go from 50% up to 100%, back down to 50%. So what happens here is they still have the same issues. We all face the same issues that are going to throw us for a loop, make us depressed, upset us, get us off course. We all deal with it, it's inevitable. But with the average agent, they don't go down to 20, they go down to 50. Well, the difference between 50 and 20 is 30. It takes less effort for them to get back up to 100 miles an hour or 100% energy than it did for the person that went all the way down to 20. Let's look at the winner's curve, which you can see here, which is this blue line. And what you'll notice here with the winner's curve is that they start at 80. They're usually always pretty motivated, pretty inspired, and they go up to 100, just like everybody else does. But then something happens to a winner. And what happens is they still dip down. Nobody stays motivated at peak performance at all times. Nobody. But they only go down to 80%. And then they go back up to 100. But then they only go back down to 80. So what happens is the amount of effort it takes somebody that's winning to get back up to full speed is going from 80 to 100 versus 20 to 100. Well, what you'll see is that the amount of time it actually takes to get from 20 to 100, for some people that are struggling, takes days, weeks. The people that are winning, it sometimes takes minutes. And so let me now explain a couple different things that you could do. And what we'll do is we'll kind of toss this up in the corner here and walk you through a couple things that are going to help you really scale your business. So let's break this down and talk about a few things that winners do in order to make sure that you're able to stay in that peak performance at all times. Now, one of the first things, which is probably going to come as a surprise, especially me saying it, is short breaks. And so what happens oftentimes, and then the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is the real life-changing part, but short breaks are really important. And what I see oftentimes with people that are struggling on this 20% line is that they're trying to go all out all the time, and then they do burnout, and then they go back down, and then they go all out all the time, and they're trying so hard 100%. The truth is, if you look at somebody like myself or some of the high performers that I know, is that I take a little 5-minute break every hour. And I'll go walk around, I'll go step outside, I'll go do something mindless, and then I'll get back to work. And then I'll take a 5-minute break, I'm back to work. And those little breaks really help keep you in peak performance because you're not just burning the candle at both ends all day, every day. You're able to take a breather, recollect your thoughts, get back to work. But the real way that you win is understanding the floor and the ceiling. So if we look at this, for example, let me talk to you about how to actually win. You've got a ceiling, and then you've got a floor. And so let me explain why this concept is so important. Now, most people operate or build their business around a ceiling. A ceiling is what you would do on an ideal day. So for most people, a ceiling could be, if they're recording YouTube videos, could be their entire month's worth of content, 8 videos in one recording session. If you're a prospector, it could be 3 hours of prospecting, whatever your ideal day is. So a lot of agents, when they're kind of coming into a new year or a new chapter or a new phase, they will design the perfect schedule, which is the ceiling. But here's what we all know. The ceiling isn't always going to be the case. We all know that there's going to be days where we get thrown for a loop, we lose a client, a friend works with a different realtor, we have an argument with a significant other, we get sick, something unexpected happens. It is inevitable and guaranteed. So why not engineer that into your daily routine? And so here's how you stay at 80% to 100%, is you also design the floor. And let me give you a really clean example that will help you better understand this. Let's look at fitness. Maybe your fitness goal is gym for 1 hour per day. And it's also maybe, no sugar. And you're super dialed, you're on top of it all the time, you're lifting heavy, 1 hour in the gym, no sugar, super strict diet. Well, what happens to most people when they go on vacation? They don't work out an hour a day. They do nothing. No physical activity. They don't have just no sugar. They have every dessert under the sun, drink a ton, and go completely off diet. That's going back down to the 20%. Let me explain what the winners do. They say, okay, on the day where I know shit's gonna hit the fan, it's not gonna be good, it's not gonna be ideal, I'm not gonna work out for 1 hour a day, but I am gonna do a 15-minute walk. Okay, well that's better than nothing. At least you stayed in momentum. Well, let's say you're on that same vacation and you're saying, hey, there's something I really wanna try. I wanna have some sugar, maybe there's a cool dessert you wanna try. Well, at least have some veggies and a green smoothie. Sorry for my writing. But what you're seeing here is that winners design not just for the optimal, but for the worst case scenario. And what happens here is that instead of going from all in to doing absolutely nothing, you go from all in to still doing something. And by doing it that way, you're always able to stay in some sort of momentum, maintaining progress, which is going to make sure that you're not dipping below 50 or 20, you're staying at the 80 mark. And there's a video with Patrick Bet-David, and he talks about bounce back time. This is super important, where the ones that struggle, maybe again, the most common case that I see, you lose a listing or a friend works with a different agent. What happens most of the time is that will throw somebody off track for a week, a month. They get depressed, they get upset, they can't stop thinking about it. What a winner does is says, well, it's done. What's done is done. I can't control it. It is what it is. Let's keep going. And so instead of taking a week, for example, to get over it, they take 5 minutes. They scream, they yell, they get pissed, they send one text off, just letting their friend know that what happened, they get it off their chest, and then they keep going. And so the shorter your bounce back time is a direct correlation to how successful you're going to be. If it takes you months to get over things, weeks to get over things, or to get back on track, you're going to be that broke agent that operates and dips back down to the 20%. If you're somebody that takes a few days to get over something, you'll probably be that average agent that dips down to 50%. But if it takes you one day or a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, you're going to be a winner. And I know that there's some outlier cases of, passings in families and certain things that are truly atrocious. But losing a listing is not one of them. Losing a client is not one of them. Take a step back, understand what's done is done. You ain't getting the client back. So whether you worry about it or not, it's done. You're not getting it back. Keep going. And as long as you keep going and you stay in momentum, you're going to win. And then the last thing that I really want to say, because we have part 1 here, which is breaks. We have part 2, which is designing a ceiling and a floor. Part 3 is going to be the environment that you surround yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with people that are just like you, going to hold you accountable, that are expecting you to rise to the occasion, and are going to tell you, hey, dude, get over it? Because for me, at least, I've got people in my inner circle where if I'm, complaining about something or maybe something really pissed me off, they're going to hit me up and be like, dude, get over it. Let's get back on track. We got things to build. We got stuff to achieve. We got big goals here. And then I'll take a step back and say, well, damn, you're right. We do. Let's get back on the saddle and keep going. But that's because I've got friends that hold me to my potential and my standards. The big question is, do you? And if you don't, you need to start to audit who's in your environment, because success is 50% mental, 50% environmental. And if your environment is jacked up because you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of 20%ers and people that get anxious and all the time and need to take big long breaks because they're burnt out, well, that's not going to be the key to success. You need to surround yourself with other winners and other 80%ers that are going to hold you accountable to what they know you can achieve, because they actually want to see you win and build a better life for your family. So if you have any other questions about this, or again, looking back at the roller coaster, feel free to just drop a comment below, because I actually want to see you win, succeed, and build the business of your dreams for you, your family, and everybody that's believed in you. But you don't have to do it alone. And so again, if you have any other questions, drop a comment below. Otherwise, if you want a 6-figure blueprint, feel free to check out the next video, because that will walk you through how to break 6 figures in your first year.